welcome to the National Adaptive Physical Education Conference 2020. Our presentation today is going to be on providing positive physical activity experiences to children with disabilities remotely during the COVID-19 crisis. I'm Dr. Melissa Bittner, and I'm an assistant professor at Long Beach State. I am joined today by Emeritus Professor Dr. Barry Lavay, CSULB APE students, Rachel Pastoraro, Elsie Gutierrez, Ruby Zapian, and Ivan Reyes Acosta.
When the COVID hit in March, basically we had about probably just a few days where our university said, okay, we're going to shut the university down, and we had a number of on-campus practicum experiences that we were going to, and where we bring children with disabilities on campus, and we would have to move that to an online format. So we had to do that pretty quickly initially. And what we're going to share with you today is two of those on-campus practicum experiences. The virtual summer camp nugget program, which we were going to celebrate our 50th year this summer. But really quickly, we had this pre-service teachers that are enrolled in the Intro to Adaptive P class that Dr. Bittner teaches. And we had very little time to do that practicum, make those changes. We're really proud of everything that Ruby, Ivan, Elsie, and Rachel did. They really stepped up, and they put together an incredible virtual online summer program for children with disabilities, and they're going to share a lot of that with you. Let's talk about some of the program benefits. And so one of the things I thought that was really interesting was when the COVID hit, Melissa and I did a deep dive, and we went on the internet, and we're talking around St. Patrick's Day, mid-March, and we're going on the internet, and what I'm seeing is a lot of exercising, a lot of somebody, you know, a PE teacher is standing there and leading an exercise group or doing some fitness activities. And I just kept thinking to myself, wow, you know, we can do better than this, and let's put the education in PE. And I'm not downgrading this or whatever, because a lot of these people had like 1 or 2 days to come up with strategies. Great things that came out of this that probably would have never happened is now we have over 50 videos of lesson plans, and they're all archived and organized by key PE content, and that's through a Glide app that later on Melissa's going to share with you. And that's a really good quality thing, because now you've got these educational videos that are archived. Most importantly, I think that it really sets the bar high for the next group that comes in. So Melissa would tell you that this, you know, she took a lot of these videos this past fall and shared them with the group that just came in that we developed over the summer. And so there were some great examples for them to see. And so they could see what does a quality online teaching instruction look like. And it also, we could share that with with teachers from all over, you know, the country. The other thing that was really interesting from a benefit standpoint was we were in the process during that time of writing grants. And if we just shut down the program, we would have nothing to show. And so when we continued with our program, and we were able to maintain funding, and especially now and in the future. So I think Service Online, we still have the potential to get grant opportunities, and we have. I think one of the things that Dr. Bittner and I really talked about from a pedagogy standpoint is, okay, they still can deliver services. They can still write lesson plans. They're in the initial stages of learning how to write lesson plans. And there's no reason why they can't utilize good differentiated instruction, universal design for learning. As you watch this presentation, you'll really see like things like split screen, and you'll see part of the, you know, one half of the, on the left-hand side, there might be somebody that's ambulatory, and then there might be on the right-hand side, somebody that's sitting in a chair. So there was still quality instruction with UDL principles. They still could get feedback. Now that feedback in the Introduction to Adaptive P class, the way that was set up is they would each teach their lesson, and then at the end of the class, Dr. Bittner would get them back together in the intro class, and they would have a debriefing, and they would discuss it, and they'd have a feedback section. The other thing that I think is really important, and we had a number of student teachers in the spring, and they would tell you that this really prepared them for when they interviewed this summer, because the first question they were asked is, can you teach virtually? And so this is going to be the new normal. It certainly is for this year. We didn't know that at the time, but there was a good idea that it probably would. And probably it's going to continue throughout. So that's really preparing them and making them, most importantly, marketable. And it's going to be in the future. If you're in higher ed, this is a skill set you need to teach them.
Yes, so the online practicum was live from Tuesday through Friday at 1 p.m. on Facebook. Lessons taught on Fridays were bilingual, and each lesson included an introduction, a warm-up that focused mainly on locomotor skills, the main activity, which varied based on the theme for the day, a cool down focused on either stretching, yoga, deep breathing, or meditation, and lastly, the lesson ended with a closure. So the lesson introduction began with a tap-in. We utilized Hellison's model of teaching social and personal responsibility. Each day our participants would tap in at the beginning of the lesson and also at the end of the lesson to let us know how they are feeling. We also incorporated rules and expectations. So after students tapped in, we reviewed the rules as part of our routine, and we utilized an acronym titled Indoor as part of our theme, Indoor Explorers, and incorporated visuals so that way the rules could be more memorable for our students or participants.
Yeah, you can also see that with the rules, there's definitely some safety that was covered, particularly safety with regards to doing physical education indoors.
After the rules were reviewed, we also went over the date and theme for the day. And then lastly, we went over the schedule, which is a visual schedule, which is an evidence-based practice that we covered so that way students would know what to expect. We focused on the warm-up, the main activity, and cool down.
Now, for our main activity, it would depend. Each day we actually had a different theme. So for example, Tuesdays were our dance day, Wednesdays were our perceptual motor or fitness days, which we called Who, What, When, Where Wednesdays. And then Thursdays was our sport-related or object control theme day, which was our Sporty Thursday. And because Friday was our bilingual lesson, we only had, that was our only day that was in Spanish. We would kind of tie in different activities throughout the day. So that was more of our wild card Friday, tying in different activities and different themes throughout the week. Now, for our cool down and for our closure, we thought it was very important to check for understanding, being able to go through and repeat some of the cues that were being done throughout the lesson, or even being able to review some of the activities that were being done. And also having, again, our tap out to see how the students were feeling now by the end of the day. And lastly, we also would provide the QR code that's right here on the screen for parents to be able to scan it and provide any feedback that they would have for us, whether the students liked it, maybe other activities that they might like to see. And it was a great way for everybody watching at home to have some sort of buy-in to the activities that were being done throughout the day.
Okay, so to keep our students engaged throughout our lesson, we incorporated thematics, and it's a great instructional strategy. Themes are chosen can be based on students' interest, but can be anything from a beach theme, animal, or even a cultural dance theme, which will make your lesson culturally responsive. So for our online Camp Nugget, we chose an Indoor Explorer theme. And based on your theme, you can create an acronym for your rules and expectations. So for the HOG theme, it was a spring lesson, and the teacher can refer back to it as a classroom management strategy and tell their students, are we following the HOG rules today? So that's a great way to incorporate your theme into your classroom management. And because our students were spending a lot of time at home because of the pandemic, mental and emotional health was practiced. using I am statements with fun memojis.
So again, these were statements such as, I am smart, I am a hard worker, and these positive affirmations the students would repeat after they did their physical activity sessions.
Now, when presenting our lessons, we were really providing lessons and activities for all different sorts of students. So it's very important to have a universal design for learning. So throughout our entire activities, we were providing many options. So for example, having students run or do high knees, do push-ups or do a plank. So trying to make it accessible for all students, and also not only challenging, making activities easy, low skilled, but also having higher skilled activities to be able to challenge students. For example, we even had a day where we did all of our activities seated, so it would be accessible for any student that's possibly in a wheelchair. So we wanted to really make it accessible for all students at home during this pandemic time.
Our videos are now even closed caption, so those who are deaf or hard of hearing are able to access the videos as well.
We're looking to receive feedback from parents, and we also wanted to see our students participating. So we incorporated the camper of the week. Parents were able to submit a picture or a video, or by giving video feedback to our QR code to be eligible to receive either the t-shirt like I'm wearing today, so is Dr. Lavay, and a certificate through the mail, and they were mentioned at the end of the video.
All right, so we had so many good teaching lessons that we wanted to archive these for, again, teachers to use as inspiration, or you obviously could use these with your own teaching. So with these, we created a Glide app. We got the idea from Dr. Christy Roth at UW Stevens Point. She even guided us through the creation of this. So this is our Glide app, and I will be sure to put the Glide app link. Of course, it's on the PowerPoint, but I will put it in the chat as well for you all. So with our Glide app, we've actually had over 700 downloads of the Glide app, which is pretty great. Our videos, we get between 1 and 200 views per daily lesson. So we really are, impacting a lot of individuals, or so we hope. With the Glide app, we have archived all these to make these great videos more accessible so you can find what you're looking for. So for example, we have full 30-minute APE lessons, and they're archived here by the Dr. Seuss Foot Book or Monster Mash, Hiking Adventure. So here's the Who, What, Where Wednesdays, Day at the Beach. These are also our Spanish lessons, and I know we've actually just talked to an APE teacher who is a Long Beach State alum in Texas, and she has a strong Hispanic population on her caseload, and she put together on our website and used these videos for her students to access as well, since they are also virtual. Also, we have all of our content skills. So we've broken down our different activities to ball skills, dance, rhythm, fitness, locomotor, spatial awareness, yoga. So for example, if you went into one of these, I know the Dr. Seuss Foot Book caught my eye. This was a really good one that was linked. And you can come here, it goes right to the lesson. And so you can see activity 1.
You hear
with this
up
one,
feet.
you can see that there's a lot of oars. You can see
When
with
you
this
hear
video,
me say up in the air feet, jump up. Or
So
wave both hands over your head.
so you can see some oars, you can jump, or you can wave your hands. And again, this whole lesson is with the theme of Dr. Seuss. And now at the end here, we have some green eggs and ham yoga.
the other
So
thing
again,
is, a lot of our slides, a lot of them will be split screen, which is a really nice feature where you have the oars in a split screen setting.
So also then, for example, maybe you want to do ball skills. I know this is a great one, TikTok underhand throw that Elsie did this past summer at Camp Nugget. So She goes
Okay,
over,
Indoor Explorers, you have made.
with this video, you can see, like, first she's telling the parents, this is the material that you need. And then she's going to go over the cues and how to do the activity. So she's telling them how to ball up a t-shirt to use as a ball. Because again, with all of our videos, we are trying to do limited or no equipment and limited or no space. Because that's just the reality of when we're doing PE indoors. So you can see Elsie here is doing the tick-tock underhand throw. She's got her equipment and she's the reminder cues for tick-tock. And then she'll put together an activity. So that's, again, the Glide app, there's a ton. Let's do maybe another one. This is dance, so a lot of great dance things. Oh, I remember this one. This one was really fun. This was the Spanish rhythm sticks that Ivan and Ruby did.
La actividad que sigue, vamos a usar nuestros lápices al lado para arriba, al lado para arriba, al lado para arriba.
Okay, so again, we have many hours worth of videos on this Glide app, and please utilize it as a resource. That's why we put it together. We continually update it. So even this fall with our APE cohort and our intro to APE class, we are still doing these online videos and continuing the archive to put these in the Glide app to access. Oh, I guess I should also say, with this Glide app and our online practicum, we've actually received quite a bit of recognition, and even the president at Long Beach State sent us an email with kind of a kudos with how we pivoted and transitioned regarding the unique situation to this pandemic. So again, we hope that these resources are helping others, help children be physically active during this time. So here's how, Elsie's gonna take us through, here's how we did this technology. I know some of you are like, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming. Where do I start? I'm not a tech wizard, and I promise none of us are.
Yeah,
Elsie's gonna give some tips on that.
I was definitely not a technology wizard, but I quickly learned how to use several pieces of technology, starting with Google Slides. And Google Slides you can use virtually and in person. It's a great tool as a visual aid for lessons, and it has multiple functions. You're able to insert Memojis, so you can record your Memoji on your phone and then input it into your slides. And you can also add music, and with the music, you don't need to have your music on your laptop. You can use any music streaming device like SoundCloud or Spotify or YouTube. And if you use YouTube, you can search from Google Slides. You do not have to copy the link and go back onto Google Slides. So that's really easy. And my favorite is GIFs. GIFs are really fun to use, and they're very appealing to the eye, and students seem to really be engaged when they see a video repeated and inputted the jumping GIF, because you would be able to add those cues onto your slide, onto your Google slide. So it's a fun way to make it visually appealing. The next one would be iMovie, and iMovie I would say would be the easiest way to create and edit videos. And the cool thing about iMovie is that parents can go back and rewatch the lesson as many times as they want, rather than if the lesson is live, they aren't able to access the video and go back. So iMovie, you're able to, like Dr. Lavay mentioned, you can do a split screen and show a screen with the oars. So on one side, you maybe have a student who is ambulatory, and on the other is probably seated. And on the iMovie, you can input a text for maybe your paras or your parents for to add tips or any cues that you would like to add. And also sometimes when you're recording online, you may be worried about the sound. So you can record your video and then go back to your video and input a voiceover. So that's really effective to use, because then you can control the sound. And the only downfall about iMovie is that it's only for Apple users. So if you don't have an Apple device, you won't be able to use iMovie. And also I came to learn, and the rest of the student assistants came to learn, that iMovie is very time consuming if you don't know how to use it. So your first time may take a couple hours for you to rewatch your video and edit and make sure it's perfect to your liking. But once you get to know iMovie, it's really easy to use, and I feel like it's I feel like it's the best way to go.
Just to let you all know, we will put in the chat, we have a whole Google folder that Elsie, Rachel, Ivan, and Ruby put together QR codes with how to do all of these things. So if you want to know, well, how do I do a GIF? We have a QR code in this folder that walks you through how to do it, or how do I add music, or how do I do a green screen? We have all of these done in this big file. We'll share that in the chat, and then you can utilize all these resources. They take you through step by step, like how to do Zoom. So even if you are a beginner, these links will help you with, and again, when you're initially creating, I would encourage you to maybe pick one technology or two, try that out, test the waters. Don't like set the super high bar and think that you should implement all this new technology right at once. Pick one or two things, get accustomed to it, get a feel, and then you can, continue to add more bells and whistles as you progress.
Some other general tips is, make the lesson interactive. Throughout the entire lesson, check for understanding. Also, using themes. Themes is it's a thing that makes a lesson a lot of fun. So for example, for our warm-ups, maybe, you make it a beach theme, and you're, walking to the beach, and you might have to go on your tiptoes because the sand's hot, and then maybe, do some arm circles as you're swimming in the water. It really has the students buy into the lesson. Also, another thing is being able to reduce background clutter. It might not be easy to have maybe just putting up like some sort of white sheet, but trying to reduce as much clutter as possible, as it can be distracting for some of the students. And another thing that we did find pretty important is that when you are talking to students and bringing up, for example, left and right, either you have to mirror the movement, or another good way is, turn around and say, okay, this is your left side, instead of doing it right in front, because, sometimes with the camera, it does mirror it. And when you're saying your right hand, it might show up differently to the students on screen. So it's always best to, turn around, give your back, and that's a good way to give those directions.
Also think about wearing a brightly colored shirt. Students who might have, some residual sight, bright yellow, like Elsie's shirt is it's gonna pop and be a little more visual catching. So try to use some bright colors with the shirt you're wearing. All right, we collected some data with the Intro to APE class. We did a survey, so we had 25 pre-service APE teachers, 17 male, 18 female, and we did an online survey. We wanted to use the theory of planned behavior to, see their intentions, why they were, what their intention, their beliefs, and subjective norms when teaching online.
So for our survey, we asked several open-ended questions for the participants to respond to, and we chose some of our favorite quotes to include during our presentation today. So our first question was, how did you plan to adjust your physical education lesson when teaching in an online setting? And one student mentioned how they wanted to familiarize themselves with using different apps and technology, as Elsie was talking about earlier. And another student mentioned that they had to make sure that whoever was watching could be successful without equipment. As we also mentioned, making your own equipment, using household items, or the best option, using no equipment at all. The next question is, which aspects of the online physical education practicum did you find to be the most valuable? And participants stated that they enjoyed learning how to manipulate videos, PowerPoints, and new technology. And they liked that they were able to watch the videos back and see themselves teach, and also get peer feedback. And for some of Dr. Bittner's classes, students would watch each other and then give feedback during reflection at the end.
Yeah, correct. With the Intro to APE class, we'll teach the lesson, and then we'll come back for the second half of the class for the next 45 minutes, and we will systematically reflect on the teaching.
Next, what were some barriers or negatives about the online physical education practicum? The two main things here were technical difficulties and lack of interaction with the children. Zoom, Facebook, technology, we all have those moments where something goes wrong, but the video may lag, the music, maybe you can't hear it, something's messed up with the audio. It happens, and just accepting this beforehand that, you know, it's mostly going to be okay, but every once in a while something goes wrong, it's understandable. And additionally, in APE, we're so used to having the students in front of us and seeing their progress that it's difficult when they're not there and we can't see them. So we have to really be proactive about thinking, what is the student going to do well? What might they need help with? So you can give that feedback during your lessons online. Next, we asked, how did you differentiate instruction? We kind of already went over this, using modifications, offering choices, ORs, as Ivan was talking about earlier, and also with the split screen, as Dr. Lavay mentioned, having one side being a standing version of the exercise or activity, and the other side being a seated version, offering those choices for all students so everyone can be successful. And lastly, we said, please share anything else about your experience during the practicum. And one student said they enjoyed helping students who may be sitting at home all day and they can get up and move and really get those benefits from physical activity, even during this really strange time that we're in right now. And also, although it was different and challenging, it is an eye-opener into what the future could be like if we ever have to do this again. We have a ton of resources now and videos, and we can just keep getting better from now, moving forward.
All right, so from virtual education, here are the positives for both pre-service and then community. So from a pre-service standpoint, you know, parent involvement. It's important for parents to see what we as APE teachers do. And we really called upon the parents to serve as the paraprofessionals. So it was great to open the parents' eyes as to what is adapted physical education, what do we do, how do we do it. Obviously, the Glide app, we've received a lot of good feedback on this huge resource. It can help future pre-service teachers to get ideas or use these created ideas for your own. Let's see, from a pre-service standpoint, a lot of students talked about how if they did make mistakes, they could edit it out because, you know, using iMovie, it's asynchronous, so you can just clip out some of the parts that didn't go as planned. Another positive was those gifts. I really like gifts because students with disabilities do not always attend when they're supposed to and focus on the demonstration when you give it. If you have a GIF, it's constantly up there, it's looping, and so when they're ready to watch the demonstration, it's still up there and going. Positives from a community standpoint, tapping into the culture. We actually started the Fridays because Ruby was talking about her mom was having to homeschool her younger sister, and the homework was sent in English, but her mom was a Spanish speaker, and so we decided to initiate these Friday Spanish days, and we've received great response. Many people said how valuable that they were to utilize these videos and meet students where they were at. And again, we've received a lot of views on these. So the nice thing about being online is we're not only, you know, showing what we do to those in our after school program, our Camp Nugget, but now we can show nationally what we're doing here at Long Beach State. And that's certainly been a positive as well. Of course, virtual education has its challenges. Some of the challenges for pre-service students were music copyright, had to deal a time or two with Facebook or YouTube about us using some copyrighted music. You know, we get around it, and well, yeah. So it just takes a few additional, like, this is for educational purposes, and then usually they lift the copyright hold. But again, we have those a time or two. The tech learning curve, absolutely. Internet connection for pre-service students. If we had that, we usually encourage them to pre-record their iMovies then, and I could play it on my end if there were some internet connection issues. Difficult to see children and or your peers when you are teaching virtually, because in Zoom, as you can see here, you get like 4 or 5 people per screen, and that's all you can see, or you got to like click your little arrow here to rotate through your class, and that's a challenge. A lot of teachers who are teaching online will often have like 2 screens, one where they're running their slides and another where they're looking at their class to give feedback. But this is also something we just put our videos up there, and we were, teaching to a virtual audience. That is something we would like to think about for next year's Camp Nugget, is to get a group of students and, actually teach live to them in more of a private setting, not necessarily, online like we did for anybody to join us. Yeah, okay, we talked about all that. And then finally, community internet connection. Obviously, not everyone has Wi-Fi, and so it's hard to reach everyone. I know Ruby and Ivan even put together a kind of a paper-based monthly plan of here are some activities to do. But internet connection is an issue. Limited feedback to our QR code. So we had to beg, borrow, and steal just to get some feedback from parents with our QR code the way it was. So that was difficult. We really wanted more parents to give us feedback, and that was hard. And it's hard to parents. We get it. They have a lot on their plate at this time. In addition, we're asking them to be like paraprofessionals, and that's also challenging. There's a lack of equipment, so we had to get creative, use socks. We would use like a broom for a hockey stick. So, paper plates or a piece of paper for a poly spot. And then finally, just teaching online the way that we had our program set up. It's difficult to know the quality of the views. How long does the individual stay on? Was it the children? Is it other APE teachers? Is it pre-service teachers? It's difficult to know with Facebook who and for how long are joining our videos. We're getting high numbers, but what is the quality of that?
Okay.
All right, Barry, take us home.
So one of the interesting things is teaching, whether it's virtual or it's live, it's always going to be a science and an art. That's not going to change. And a lot of the science aspects are, you can do online. You can clearly continue. And you can see from our video, really proud of the 4 students here. They really stepped up, and all those students that were in the intro class. But we really included content. And we really put the education and physical education. And I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. We shouldn't make virtual an excuse that we're just going to exercise people.
One thing to chime in, Barry, is that all the students, they had to submit lesson plans. And, for the intro class, they teach 10 minutes, but they might be submitting, 4 or 5 pages for this 10-minute activity. It needs to be very detailed. And on top of that, we're going live. So my name's associated with this. CSU Long Beach is associated with this. Our program is associated with this. I go through 4, 5, 6 rounds of edits with our students before they are 100% approved to teach these. So there is very much a, structured routine that we go to before someone is, allowed to teach live in this environment.
Those are great points. And when you're doing this practicum, we were fortunate in the summer program with the participants, that we're talking about now, they had already taken a number of classes. And so you could see there's some real quality. And so you look at this art of teaching and online practicum, is that being addressed? And is, we can still, with pre-service teachers, they can be creative and maybe even be creative in a whole different way, in a fun way, and their personality can come out. But one of the things that may be challenging is if you have behavioral issues, and now you're relying on that parent to be a paraprofessional. I think one interesting thing that's come from this is a lot of AP teachers, and if you're an AP teacher out here, here's a real good chance for you to advocate for your program, because now parents are saying, wow, there's like some teaching going on here, and this is hard. This isn't just, somebody in gym shorts running around and having fun. And so there's some educational things. So it's really an opportunity for us to showcase what we do to parents, because sometimes most of the time when I talk to parents, they couldn't tell me who their AP teacher is at times, but now they really know. So obviously, to summarize, virtual teaching as an option during the COVID, it's going to continue, especially, this year. And part of this is going to be the new normal. And we tried to show that there was some silver lining to some of this. One of the things I think is we believe, and as we talked, and when we teach this summer again virtually, is how do we provide really good support systems and using those parents as paraprofessionals, because, some of them don't want to be paraprofessionals or AP teachers. And then equipment's going to be a challenge, you know, because there's some lessons that you can't teach virtually. But I was really proud of a lot of AP teachers all over the country, how they really stepped up. But that's what we do. We're really creative, and our students just were amazing, you know. So we have questions or feedback.
Yeah, that's it. It's time here for questions and feedback from the audience. Also, highly encourage you to check out our social media site at Long Beach State APE. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And we actually are going online live every Tuesday, Thursday at 3:45 for our APE cohort to do our after school program, and Wednesdays for our intro to APE class at 1 o'clock. So you can see us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, what we're doing here at Long Beach State as we're continuing our live programs. So thank you all for joining us. Again, kudos to Elsie, Rachel, Ivan, and Ruby for the hard work that they put in to this.
They're amazing.
So at this point, we will open it up for questions. Thanks all.